All right, wonderful. So thank you, Juju, for being here tonight. I appreciate that so much. And for all of you that have joined us, I want to make sure if you have questions that you can type them in the chat. The chat is up and ready. Specific questions, obviously, we're talking about horses tonight and patching with horses. And I know we have some people that have very, very specific questions. So if you want to type your questions in the chat, or if you would like to unmute yourself, feel free to do that and ask whatever questions that you have for Juju, who has so kindly offered her time to come on here tonight as an expert on horses. So who wants to start? Just unmute yourself, yeah.
So I have a question. Actually, I just want to kind of hear some stories. What are some of your favorite success stories that you've had with patching horses with Lifeway?
Oh, Juju, you have to unmute. Hang on one second. You got to unmute.
Sorry.
Okay.
I've been patching horses for so long that I don't really have any favorite, but I learned about the patching from Dr. Lauren Durock, who did the studies, the thermography studies on the pain patches. And so first of all, I learned it from there. And then I used to live in Southern California at that point, and I had her come down and treat clients with the patches. So I learned a lot about the patches, and I also learned that the pain patches for the horses are the same ingredients as the pain patches for the humans. It's just a different name because of what's required by FDA. So with that in mind, I actually have used the other patches for horses, even though it hasn't been studied. And I can tell you one thing is that the Eon patch that does bring down cortisol is really good for horses that are stressed, and also horses that have a high ACTH. So actually used it on horses, and their cortisol levels have come down according to the owners who have the vets do the blood test. For example, I use it with pain. I use it. I have 7 horses on my property currently, and every single horse gets an X39 every day. Now, my little study, my personal study with that was I had 10 horses, and 7 of the horses were getting the daily patches and 3 of them weren't. And a friend of mine who helps me trim hooves asked me one day why the quality of the hooves of the ones that were not patched were different. Now, she didn't know what I was doing because I'm constantly biohacking with all sorts of things. So that was like a big testament for me that, oh, look at that. I'm also into nutrition, so I'm not relying only on the patches. I'm supporting the patches.
Oh, Juju, you went mute again. Hang on.
That's weird.
There you go. Okay, you're talking, but you weren't muted. Okay, now you're back.
Yeah, I don't live in a great Wi-Fi zone, so.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know what you missed, so there we go.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
Okay, so Eve, what other question did you have?
Do you always use the bead? Because I know the AccuLife comes with the bead in it. Or are there times when you, I would think, because I've been putting one on my horse's head.
I've never used the bead.
Okay.
I've never experimented with them. Yeah. I just haven't, just because it's one more thing to do. And on the horse's coats, I had learned to use either super glue or duct tape on top. So I was using super glue, like a couple of drops, but then that ultimately affects the coat, right? Not health-wise, it's just there's a sticky thing and you have to pull it off. So now what I'm using is the stick glue, like Elmer stick glue. And that works well without like stick, it keeps the patch on. Now I have some clients who use the patches on their horses and they never have to use glue. Of course, that never happens with my horses. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
just don't use the beads. And I guess if I was curious enough, but then I would have to be really focused on how I would compare, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and also Dr. Durock never used the beads. And in those days, we got beads with all of the patches.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never used beads either with the horses that are here in our area. The beads,
Even when I thought maybe,
the whole point behind the beads, because we have other countries, obviously we're in 81 countries. And so specific countries for their licensing to get the X39 into their country, they come with those little beads as well too. So remember, this product is based in acupuncture points and meridians. And so the beads are to be able to use
Stimulate.
acupuncture, yeah,
Yeah.
on those spots, right? And so for the horses, they're basically, you know, let's use the beads to really get down in on those specific acupuncture points. But they're not needed because we know that, right? It's light. So we don't actually need to push in at a pressure point on the skin.
Right, we don't actually have to do it. I mean, I don't have to get acupuncture anymore for anything like say pain because I have patches. So we don't, that's really why I haven't done it.
Yeah.
I collect them. I save all those little bags. I don't know why.
I feel like they end up when you're going to get the patches out of the barn, like I feel like they end up all over the floor, you know? when
They
you're-
do. So I take out the little package and I just put it someplace. So I have
Yeah.
like a collection of them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, I think Amy had a question. Amy, do you have a question? No, oh, I thought you raised your hand. Okay, Danielle, you have your hand raised. Do you have a question? You want to unmute?
I do. Zuzu, have you had any experience using glutathione on the horses yet?
I have. Let's see, even last summer, I had a horse here who got pigeon fever. And because I wanted to support her immune system in more ways than one, I was using the X39 and the glutathione. And what I did, and she healed quite well, by the way, and I never even had to call a vet out. In this area, a lot of horses get pigeon fever and they get serious pigeon fever. And hers were in her teats, but it didn't go into her internal organs. And she never had a bad mood day, which is odd for a mare. She didn't particularly like me touching her teats to clean things, but what I did was if I feel I need to use it on a horse, I will look at the booklet for humans and I will do that rotation. I'll find the acupoints for horses and I'll rotate like that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Awesome. What other questions do you guys have? Feel free to unmute yourself. Eve?
I was wondering if you have a favorite protocol for the horses.
Or what specifically?
If, do you have any sort of protocol for calming or for horses that are performance horses?
So
Or
it
for-
depends on the particular horse. So calming, I often use Eon and I use Nirvana. And the Nirvana I put either on the lung point or I'll put it on their forehead. The Eon can be on the forehead, but often when a horse needs calming, they also have pain. So the thing is to know where the pain is and to patch there also. And for pain, I always patch, and with people too, I always patch with Eon and the Ice Wave or Eon and the AccuLife. I don't ever do Ice Wave or you know, AccuLife alone. I always use an Eon also. So that really helps. And then for performance horses, assuming that they don't have any pain, which is, that's a whole nother can of worms. But anyway, assuming you would use the energy patches, and you can often, I remember once patching, this was years ago, I was teaching a clinic in Southern California, and I patched somebody's horse. I put Eon on their loins. I mean, not Eon, I'm sorry. I did the energy patches on their loins. So that's behind the saddle, in front of the croup, approximately on the bladder point. And that horse became so energetic that this rider, and I don't mean hot, I just mean like if it was an advanced rider, she'd be happy with it. But this was a beginner rider, so I had to take the energy patches off. So that's something, you can always use the energy patches, and you can use it in the same way that, I mean, really, what it comes down to, what I've noticed is that the way that I use it with people, I use it with horses. And now every morning when I go to give all the horses their supplements and stuff, I patch with the X39 patch, like I said, every morning. And depending, like I have a mare boarded here that's got high-low. You know what high-low is?
No. You mean in
Okay.
their hoof,
Yeah.
in their
hoof.
feet? Yes, I do, yes.
Okay. So often with high-low, a horse will have an issue, and very often, in their body, and very often, it will look like a girthing issue. It will be up in the girth area, or it will be in front of the scapula at the base of the neck someplace. So people don't correspond it to the hoof. And chiropractors will often say that the high hoof is where their shoulder is being jammed, but the horses often have pain on the low side. So what I do is I just touch the horse and I see where she flinches most, and I slap that X39.
On the pain, okay.
On the pain spot. Yeah. And then I have another young mare here. She hasn't been backed yet. She's just doing all the groundwork and stuff. And she has got that pulled fascia right in front of the withers. So instead of her neck being smooth, which we see actually all over the place because horses are ridden upside down like that. So the fascia is pulled in front of the withers. And if you look at the hairline, it kind of goes like that. So and then it's really hard for those horses to be able to pick up the base of their withers and to go forward like that, because they're kind of stuck. So they're stuck not only at that point, but if you follow that line down in front of their scapula or on their neck, you'll find another point that's really painful. And I go back and forth between these 2 points. And that horse had a problem just in the groundwork backing up. And since then, since I've been patching those points, her backing up has way improved. So in hand backing up, we're just doing all these ground exercises with her.
Yes. Right. That's awesome.
Okay, awesome. What other questions do you guys have?
Zuzu, I have another question. Since you are so schooled in the horses and the humans, I'm probably pretty certain you have other animals around you.
I have
Are you
dogs.
patching them as well?
Yes, I have patched dogs. Yeah. So I also do dog training and dog boarding. So I patch dogs, and the dogs are just like the horses. Once you start patching and they know that it makes them feel good, they come and they'll give you the part of their body that they want to patch. A lot of dogs have hip issues. So patching the Ice Wave, or if you want to use the AccuLife on their pelvis, in the loin area, or they'll tell you where to put it, but yeah. And then like I have a couple of German Shepherds, but one of my German Shepherds, she did something to her joint down next to one of her paws in the front, just from jumping so much. And I just patched it with X39 every day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Amy, you had a question?
I do have a question. This is all very new to me, so I'm just gathering information. And I was curious if the location of the X39 or the AccuLife is the same way it would be in the book for people. Does it have to be midline or can it be anywhere on the body?
So here's the thing.
Like right and left.
So, yeah, so the studies, the instructions in the booklet is what the studies have been done on. So that's where you can start. When you want to experiment, you learn that you can put these patches anywhere.
Oh, good.
Okay. So yeah, and that's how that works. Now there's a good way in the IceWave booklet that shows you different ways to sandwich or do the clock method. And I often do that. Now with horses, I will just sandwich because with the people, I can put one patch on, like the tan patch, on the major point of pain, or I'll put an Eon on the major point of pain, and then I'll ask them to walk around, the pain move, and then I'll put the tan patch there, and then ask them to move around, then they'll feel the pain move, and I'll put the white patch there. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. With horses, I just tend to sandwich, and I will put the Eon patch usually on the point and then sandwich it.
Sandwich, you mean on top of it or right next to it?
Next to it, like I sandwich the area. Let's
Yeah.
say their hock was hurting, I would put the Eon maybe right on the point of where the hock, where those 4 joints are, right close to each other, so I know it will help that general area. And then I might sandwich on either side of the hock, or if I've gone up the gaskin and I felt that the gaskin is tight, I might do it up there, or put another Eon patch up there and do it up there, because the body is all interconnected.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome questions. What other questions do you guys have?
I can think of one more. So I know that I can use them on my dog now, which is great to know because he's got some issues. What's the best way to get it to stick to a poodle's hair?
Oh, yeah, so inconvenient. Where are the issues?
I would say nervous system and brain.
Then you could put it on the collar. So look at the collar and see how the collar wants to hang, and then you have choices, because it will always end up in one position, like the buckle takes it down or something, or the tag. So if you want it on the back, which would be a powerful point, you could do that. If you want it, so you put it on the inside of the collar, then you can have it on the front.
He doesn't even wear a collar, but I usually keep like a cloth bandana on him.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
that would work too. That would
Okay.
work.
Okay.
And then you could also try it on the top of his head. If you don't have anything, you
It
could
does
probably
stick
actually use
fur.
so you could actually probably use the glue stick on the top of his head and stuff like that. That wouldn't really be a problem.
Okay, great.
When it's on a leg, I tend to wrap it. When it's on a leg, for example.
Okay.
I'll wrap it with a breathable sticky thing. I forgot what they're called, but you can, it's one of those
Yeah,
things you can
like
get the
tubular
Yes.
gauze or something would work. Yeah.
something like that. Something that's sticky though, that sticks to itself and it's breathable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Yeah, so I know we have some people that have also joined us here that we can't see you guys, so I know you can hear what's going on. Do you have any specific questions for Juju about horses? She's on here. I know you guys, some of you just joined. I know that she's on here as someone who's been working with horses for a very long time. And so if you have questions, you can either unmute yourself or you can type your questions in the chat in regards to horses, issues, placements, different things like that. Do any of you guys that have just joined have any questions about horses? You guys can type them or unmute yourself. And for those of you girls that are on here, obviously, do you know who the people are? You guys can see. We have Jaleisha and Ed, Elena and Lee. Do you guys know who these people are? So you can reach out to them if they do have questions.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, any other questions? Because I want to respect Juju's time that she's given us so generously. Any other questions you have about horses?
I have a couple of questions. Oh, go ahead.
Amy?
Yes, because this is new, I want to introduce it to my friends who have horses and farms and know people that do. What would be the best way for me to show them the example of how this works? To go and patch the horses for them, or to give them the samples and let them experience it for themselves? Like, where would I begin as somebody new in this?
You would need to start with the pain patches, the AccuLife. You would need to start there. It has a booklet that you could give to them. And assuming you know horses, you would need to patch the horses where you can see there's pain, which they usually have on their back, for example.
Okay,
Now,
Yeah.
if you don't know horses or you're unfamiliar with it, you could ask the owner. And if they say, well, he always has problems wherever, then you can patch that and ask them to ride the horse. So go there prepared for them to ride the horse, get off, patch, and ride the horse again. And they should be able to feel the difference.
okay. And I know with the AccuLife, there's the tan and the white. So you would place those where the pain is, obviously. With the X39,
You would follow the
The
you would
booklet.
follow that sandwiching thing where there's the pain and then you would sandwich it. Yeah.
Okay,
So if they have pain in their lower back on their loins, tan on the left, white on the right.
okay. Okay, and just like with people, is it a 12-hour span? You leave that on and then you repeat it again? Is it a daytime patch more than nighttime?
No, there is no daytime or nighttime.
Okay,
The
But it
thing
is-
about taking the patches off is that the area slowly gets less sensitive to the photobiomodulation.
I see.
So, if we wanted to make our life easy, we would just keep patches on and then change it the next day and put it back on the same spot. But the problem is that doesn't work. They can keep it on for the 24 hours, let's say, and the next time they see their horse, just not put it in that spot, put it in another spot.
Okay,
Once you have somebody really experiencing the difference in the AccuLife and the pain patches, so they can feel the difference in their riding, and then they're getting benefits from the X39 patch themselves, so you offer them to try that. Then you can say, hey, I know somebody, that would be me, that who's been using these on the horses. So if you want, you could start to experiment. If you feel like your horse might need some, help in its joints, etc. Some people seem to be experiencing improvement that way, but it hasn't been tested, so you can't say it does.
and if there was an injury to the horse or an old injury that didn't heal, is that where you would put the X39 as well to sandwich
I
it?
would.
Yeah.
I do that. Yeah, I have a horse here that I'm healing from navicular and something else, and I put it right on the spot.
Okay,
Yeah, but that's not tested and not in the booklet.
okay, yes, I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, Eve. Do you want to unmute and ask your question? I know you had a question as well, too.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. So you kind of answered my question I was about to ask. I have a horse with an old stifle, a really bad stifle injury, and he's developed a lot of arthritis there. So I would assume I would do the X39, the Ice Wave and the Aeon. Would you put
And the
all of those
X39.
in that area?
Yeah, I would put the Aeon and the Ice Wave in that area, and I would be putting the X39 on Bayou, which is up on top of the croup. That's a very powerful point for horses and for dogs. And I would do that daily. And then just to add to that, you need to make sure that the nutrition is complements, all of that. Like I've had horses here because I rehab horses who have had arthritic issues, like down in the fetlock, etc. And they have these, you could see the huge arthritic issues, and just from movement and changing the minerals, those have disappeared. So that's will also really help you.
Okay. And if we have time, I have another question. So I've been using these for weeks now. I have a horse that I found out has EPM, and I had him on medicine for a while. And then I started putting the Ice Wave on his back. He had some sensitivity, some soreness in his back, and the Eon. I just recently started the X39, but I'm wondering if there's anything else I could do for him. When you mentioned glutathione, I thought that maybe for his immune system, that might be beneficial.
Yeah, I would do the glutathione. And the other thing, though, I can't tell you where because I'd have to do research. Because I help people with patching, but then I research and then I it's a mix between research and intuition. He would need energy patches someplace. There are some, if you look at Chinese medicine and you talk about meridians, he's going to have some areas or some of the meridians where the energy is not moving and it's blocked. So you would need energy patches. An easy way to do it if you're in tune with the horse, because I did a multi-year experiment. I have a friend who's an acupuncturist, not a horse acupuncturist, she's a person acupuncturist, but we would play around with the patches and whatever horse had an issue. And I would say, I feel like putting it here. And then I would ask her, what is that? She would say, I don't know, what meridian is that? So we'd look it up. I'd tell her the meridian and then the point on the horse, and she'd translate it and go, oh, that makes total sense because blah, 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 blah. So in the end, if you're standing next to your horse and you have a feeling of putting the energy patches on the tips of his ears, do it. I'm serious.
I get it. I get it. Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you, Juju. I really appreciate your time tonight and coming on here and answering their questions. Just like I said, out of the kindness of your heart, be
Sure.
willing to help us out. So as a sideline sister, thank you so much for your time. And I really appreciate it. I really, really do. Thank you.
Sure. I love helping people and horses and dogs.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right,
Okay.
guys. Thank you guys.